Thank you. Well, I'll stick with you, Dr. Volkoff, because I know that you've seen and are well aware of some of the research that's going on with NIH at West Virginia University with Dr. Rezai on his use of ultrasound to potentially slow addiction and Alzheimer's, and I want to talk to Dr. Hodes about that as well. What do you think that that work, what kind of promise does that work have with ultrasound to decrease some kind of cravings? I know there's no one solution fits all here. That's the difficult part of what you deal with every single day. So what do you see in terms of on the horizon for treatment?
Yeah, you see me smiling.
Yes.
Actually, this is a perfect example where science is...
You need, yeah, we need your, yeah.
Sorry, I was just saying you're seeing me smiling because this is a perfect example that you see where science has transformed the way that we can tackle problems, like in this case, addiction. And this is possible because of our understanding how the brain works and what are the circuits affected in addiction on the one side. And through brain technologies developed by brain to be able to manipulate them in a non-intensive way very selectively. And that's exactly what Dr. Rezai is doing, using low-intensity focused ultrasound to basically restructure the way that the nucleus accumbens, which is the area of the brain involved with reward, actually gets disrupted by drugs. Mm-hmm. And what he has shown, even though it's very pilot data, is quite dramatic. He sees that a dramatic reduction in craving and anxiety on people with severe substance use disorder. And this is an intervention that's not invasive, that requires 1 or 2 interventions and appears to have at least an effect that lasts one week, if not 4 weeks. So we are funding research to try to exploit it, how to maximize its utility so that others can take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's quite remarkable to watch, and I've watched it myself. Dr. Hodes is also doing the same. It's brain, and it's interesting how all of these things can kind of interconnect at some point. How I know you've had a long history of studying Alzheimer's, so what do you think about this as a potential breakthrough in combination with what we're seeing with some of the pharmaceuticals and other available, I don't know that they're full treatments, but at least improvements in how to handle Alzheimer's?
Yes, so very much, just as you're reflecting, and as Dr. Volkoff noted, it's gratifying when we see convergence of technologies and approaches. In this case, the progress in this past years in Alzheimer's treatment has been quite remarkable, with the first FDA approval of a drug, lecanemab, for treatment of mild cognitive impairment, early stage. What we've learned from the series of both successful and unsuccessful trials is that the effect is very strongly related to the degree of decrease in amyloid that can be accomplished.
Right.
And what was shown in these studies in West Virginia was that the use of targeted ultrasound in combination with an antibody to amyloid increased the effect in decreasing amyloid in the brain. Preliminary data, which now will be followed up with promise for making more effective in combination the treatments that we have available.
Well, it couldn't be done without NIH and without the innovators that we have. I'd like to move over to the NCI designations in clinical trials. And I don't know who wants to answer this, Dr. Rothmel or Dr. Bartignola, but there are 14 states, including my state, that do not have an NCI-designated cancer center. You know, you've seen the statistics. Our cancer statistics in our state are very disappointing and devastating to us. It goes back to my rural area question. My understanding, anecdotally through the professionals that I've talked with, is that in order to get this designation, you have to have $10 million of repeating research into a center before you can become NCI designated. In some rural states that don't have the resources and other things, that becomes a big hill to climb. I'm suggesting here that have you thought about some kind of a carve out or some kind of a way for access for the more rural states to take into consideration the certain dynamics in a state like that, as opposed to some of these bigger medical centers that are around the other 36 states that have it. So I don't know who wants to.
Let me take that.
Okay.
Yeah, Senator Capito, thank you for the question. So first, the the cancer centers is only one part of the portfolio.
Right.
And we would love to have more cancer centers. And so I know we're working with
Right.
with several that are emerging and working toward becoming the comprehensiveness. But in terms of reaching out to rural America in particular, with delivering on the discoveries to get into the hands of patients, which is ultimately what we all want here. First, I'll say that the NCI has long had a dedication to this, but I grew up in Iowa.
right.
You know, I understand very much what it means to have great distance from wherever you are to a major medical center, and then was at Vanderbilt, where although we had Nashville, the surrounding
Right.
area had very similar issues. So I'll tell you just a couple of things that we're doing to try to take that on. Beyond the cancer centers, we have 2,200 sites that do clinical trials around the nation. Our National Clinical Trials Network is something unique in the world in terms of a broad network for clinical research. I think we have over 100 clinical trials in West Virginia. And we also have the National Community Oncology Research Program, which is another way of engaging community oncologists, because that's really where most patients get their care.
Right.
But we know that it's not enough, and so we've engaged a group to work across agencies and with community centers to look at our capacity building opportunities. Absolutely, it's a huge priority for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Durbin.